So for those of you that say, oh, I'm not happy in my job and I'm going to start a business, or I'm going to do this on the side, or I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. You can do it. You can do whatever you want to do, but you got to fucking work. You got to work your ass off, and nothing comes easy, especially in today's day and age. All right. Hello. Welcome to episode 100.
100. It's a big day. 100 weeks of KT Confidential. Down.
Welcome, episode 100 of KT Confidential, the real estate podcast. We are your hosts. I am Ariel Kormendy.
I think you might be getting too close to the microphone.
And he is Adrian Trott.
I am Adrian Trott.
No, it's because I got excited.
Oh.
I'm excited. 100 episodes.
As you should be.
That's almost,
as you should be.
That is almost 2 years of weekly podcasts where we have to think about things to talk about.
Often on a whim, but always value-packed.
Actually, in the last year specifically, we've got a lot more feedback and messages from those of you that are listening and have listened. We always welcome your comments, so leave a comment wherever you're watching or listening. And always love ideas of stuff to talk about. So if you want us to talk about something, we'll throw it into the mix in an upcoming episode. So today, it's going to be a little bit more about us. We figure,
yes, I feel like we've refrained from talking about us in the past, and I think we need to. I think that's a good idea.
All right. Well, today we're going to talk about us and our business and our journey as realtors and how we started in real estate and where we are today and the journey to get to where we are. And we won't go too far back in terms of timelines. Like we're not going to.
Are you scratching your head?
Oh, you can see that?
Yeah, man. What the hell did you do?
Yeah, no. That was the kids. They I hadn't seen them for a few days, and they're really hyped.
That's so funny.
My hat on.
Do you need? Hang on. Let's just have a moment here. Do you need help? Like, are you being abused?
If I wink?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I am.
Damn,
being
those kids are little terrors.
Hey, boys at 3 years old, they've got a lot of energy, and they were up at the cottage for a few days, and they came home and full of energy, hadn't seen me in a few days, and were excited to play, and got a little rough last night, and their nails were a little bit long, and they clawed my head. So it's what I deal with.
So funny. It's funny. Usually, I mean, when we were younger, you'd be bragging about that, and it wouldn't be kids; it would be girls, women.
Yeah.
But now it's kids are beating.
I could have said that. I could have said I hadn't seen my wife in days, and she just went apeshit on me. But no, that's not the real story. I got beat up by my 3-year-olds.
So one of the things I just want to really quickly say, I just talking about how, like, I always wonder, how do people end up in a certain direction? Like, there are so many things in life that happen, minor, tiny little decisions and instances and people that come in and out of your life that kind of direct you in a certain way. And your life can go in so many different ways. So how did we end up in real estate? I remember very specifically, I don't know if this is the moment, but very vividly, your old house in Oakville, 3-story townhouse, village home. We were in the kitchen. I was on one side of the counter. I think you were on the other side. You were probably in the kitchen because you're the chef in this relationship. And we were talking about real estate. I think you were unemployed at the time. But anyways, we both seemed to have an interest in it. And for me, the big thing for me that motivated me to get into it was I saw a big void in good quality service. I remember I hired to sell my house. I hired the reputable local agent whose name and picture was all around the neighborhood. And he didn't do a very good job whatsoever. He made me go with Alicia, my wife. We went to Walmart We had to buy all our own staging stuff that we never used again. And we had to stage our own house. We were there like 11:59 before they were closing at midnight, just packing our cart full of stuff that we'll never, ever use again. Staged our own house. He came in with a little shitty point and shoot. Didn't even hire a photographer. Took his own photos. Anyways, never followed up with me.
That was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So things have changed, but that was 10 years ago.
I mean, not long after that, we got into it and we were doing 10 times that.
Yeah, I think that was really the start of what motivated us to be in an industry that we would be able to excel using our experiences in life, using our backgrounds in sales and marketing and advertising and in graphic design and everything that if you combine our two skills, like the two of us, if you combine our skills together, we knew that we could make things better. And I did the same thing. I hired the realtor at that time to sell my home when we moved to Milton. That was a little bit more predominant in the neighborhood, and point and shoot camera photos taken by the realtor. There was no staging. There was no marketing of any kind other than those crappy photos going on the MLS. And because I had a design kind of keen eye for design, the place it looked good and it was clean and it showed well and it sold quickly, but not because of what the agent did. And I think that's when you and I realized that we could go into this industry making things immediately better. And that was 10 years ago. And we were both in the automotive industry. So for those of you that don't know, I was the general sales manager for Gored's Auto Group in Milton at the time. And I oversaw Gored's Auto, Milton Toyota, and Milton Hyundai. I oversaw the management staff for the sales department. So all of the managers reported into me and all of the salespeople as well. I also had the responsibility of hiring and delegating to tasks for reception and admin people as well. So I had a big responsibility under my umbrella. And Adrian was one of the sales and finance managers, ultimately at the Hyundai dealership when we opened that store. And we'd worked together for years and years. So we became friends. We had a lot of similar interests and we hung out a lot together when we were working at the dealerships. And we always had an interest in real estate. I remember I've told this story before. I remember, being a child where my mom and my grandmother, who had purchased and sold many homes throughout my lifetime, like they would buy one and move into it for a few years and then sell it and buy another and decorate it and sell it. And that's how they built up some family equity. But every weekend, more or less, throughout the summers, we were going to open houses. And because
I never did that. Never, ever. I was never involved in any of the moving.
Yeah, it was a big thing for us. We would, go drive around the neighborhoods, and if there was an open house, pop in. And especially when there's nothing else to do or we didn't want to spend money or whatever. It was a form of entertainment. And because we had purchased and sold a number of homes, me growing up as a child, I always saw the realtors come in. They were dressed nice. They drove nice cars. We knew they lived in nice homes. You assumed that they made good money. And I don't know, it was always something in the back of my mind that I thought I would be good at. And as a kid, I don't know if you remember this, but in the 80s, I was born in 1980, just turned 40 a few weeks ago. MLS, there was no internet. And the MLS consisted of what was called the MLS book. The Toronto Real Estate Board distributed a book. Have you ever seen those?
Oh,
with
yeah.
all of the listings, and you'd get this little black and white. It's like a fourth of a page listing with a black and white photo. It became color eventually, and very, very basic description and all that. And I remember being maybe 6, 7 years old and asking our realtor if he could give me one of those. And he gave me a couple of outdated ones, like ones that were a week or two old or whatever.
Yeah.
And as a 6, 7, 8-year-old, I would study those and look at them. And I don't know, it always interested me.
You were a weird kid.
I was a very lonely child because I was a only child, and I didn't have a lot of friends. My mother really also kind of secluded me from a lot of things. She overprotected me, typical Jewish mother, very overbearing and protective. So anyways, it was something that always interested me. So when you and I do remember that conversation in my kitchen. Yes, I was probably cooking something and we were drinking and talking, and something that we would do on a regular basis. And
a lot of good decisions we made were over several beverages
and food.
Good food. Yes.
Good food and several beverages, a lot of good decisions made in that period of time. And if you think back now, I mean, when that discussion started, you were just in your relationship. You just started your relationship basically with your now wife. I was single. I was unemployed. So I had a hiatus of about 8 months where I did not work. Ultimately went back to work for the dealerships, but that's a whole other story. During that time, I bought a condo in West Palm Beach and spent a lot of time in Florida. But we were huddled in my kitchen, and I was thinking of what my next path would be, because I had spoken to you on a regular basis of me not enjoying what I was doing. I did not enjoy it anymore. I did in the beginning, but as time progressed, I realized there was nowhere for me to go unless I would own the dealership, which I had no intention of doing because I knew the cost is astronomical and the return on your investment now is marginal. Not a business I wanted to be in. I wasn't enjoying the atmosphere or anything about it anymore. And I'd always wanted to get into the restaurant business, but also knew that that's a very difficult business to be in, to be a restaurateur, to be I worked as a chef and as a cook in restaurants. I've been a part of that industry, and the amount of hours and money you make is, I give a lot of credit to people in that industry. So we started chatting. We're like, why don't we get our real estate license? And that's how it all started, over just a simple conversation of, well, why don't we just start taking the courses to get our license? And if we get through it, then we'll be forced to make a decision, and either we don't do it or we do it.
Well, I think that's probably one of the biggest mistakes new real estate agents make, is they're dabbling in it versus jumping right into it. And I feel like when you're doing that and you don't have a plan B, you don't have a backup, it's your only option. You jump in and you make it work. And we did that. And we never looked back. And we came from jobs where we were making good money and people thought we were crazy to get out of it. But, when you're motivated and that's all you've got to rely on, you make it work. And we did. And I think that was one of the best things we probably decided on.
Well, if you think about it individually, both of our incomes were well above what a typical family household income was at that time. Plus, we had full benefits, dental and health benefits, and
cars. We had company cars,
which were insured and gassed, and all kinds of perks that come along with being a senior manager in that kind of an organization. So you get to go golfing, you get to go on some trips, you get a little bit more autonomy in terms of your schedule. Even though you end up working 70-hour, 6-day a week weeks, if you wanted to take off for a couple of hours for lunch, oftentimes you could do that. So we left that, dropped it to earn nothing, right?
Yep.
You get into real estate, you don't make a cent unless you sell something. And even then, you don't get paid until the transaction closes. So for a lot of realtors, and this is what happens with a lot of real estate agents, is that they go months and months and months and months, a lot of them without a cent coming in.
Not only that, I mean, even once you, let's say as a new real estate agent, you get a listing, takes you a few weeks to get it up on the market. You're investing thousands of dollars into it. At least you should be. Then it takes you a month to sell it, and then it takes 2 months to close on it. Not only has it taken you 3 to 5 for 6 months to get paid on it, you've shelled out money right in the beginning to make this happen, let alone how long it takes you to earn that client. And in the beginning, that's not easy, because the people you think are, a shoe-in, like your family, I'm losing my voice, talking too much today. Your family, your friends, they quite often are not going to be the ones that give you that opportunity. Not in the beginning anyways.
Yeah, you have to earn that, right? You're more likely to get a stranger that believes in you in the onset. So, it's been a long journey, almost a 10-year journey. When we had this discussion that we're talking about in my kitchen, that was just over 10 years ago. That would have been the middle of 2010. So it's been a long journey, and boy, have things changed. Like, we are now a team of 6 sales representatives, and we are looking to hire to grow the team even more. We have a client care manager who also serves as an assistant to us. And we have a videographer who is dedicated to our properties and helping us bring material like this podcast out to the world. And everything that we do today, and everything that we have, and everything that is a part of our day-to-day business activities is very different, or did not exist at all, from when we started.
Well, let's go back to when we first started, and how did we get to where we are? One of the first things we ever did, you and I happen to be next door neighbors. So for those that don't know, Ariel and I live immediately next door to each other. And we have since 2011, May of 2011.
May of 2011, that's right.
And so it was the next year that we got into real estate full-time. I got married in November. Shortly after we returned from our wedding, I left my job. We took a few weeks off. What?
Well, hang on, because I resigned from my job in August of 2011.
Yes.
And we basically started our real estate business about a month or two after that.
Yeah. But I mean, like, full-fledged into it. So I left my job a couple weeks after I returned.
As a team. Because I was still putting a few deals together while you were still working at the dealership, and you made a decision that once you got married, that was it. That was the final go of earning an income. Wanted to make sure you had enough money to get married.
Sorry, I got all this.
So in that year, a little bit more than a year of us having our licenses and us becoming a 2-person team, I did a shit ton of training. Like, I mean, I went to every event and took every course, read every article and book that I could. I learned. I did all of the dirty learning too, right? Like the stuff that you wouldn't normally.
What is dirty learning? Can you explain that to me?
You get your feet dirty, you get your hands dirty, you get into the grind of things. The stuff that you don't learn necessarily in the courses. I went to the brokerage on a daily basis and sat down with a lot of the experienced realtors and talk to them, became a part of the day-to-day life of being a realtor. And I hadn't done a transaction yet, right?
So I want to go back. So we lived next door to each other. So we decided, and I think every agent starting off needs to have some focus, whether it's knocking on doors, networking through, a particular club or something you're a part of. Whatever it is, we chose to focus on our neighborhood. It was a new development, so there's a lot of turnover. We lived next door, just made sense. So what were some of the things we implemented? We had, you started the local Facebook page, which did very well. Got us connected with a lot of people in the area.
Well, and I think the way that we got the word out about the Facebook page, like we were knocking on doors saying, hey, we started a Facebook. We live down the street.
That's right.
We were knocking on doors saying, we live down the street. We just started a Facebook page. Can you join the Facebook page? Because we're going to share things that are coming up in the neighborhood. We want to get everybody to meet each other and be able to communicate. Like if there's a burglary in the neighborhood, it's a great spot to just hop on and advise, right? Like how many times a car got broken into over the last 10 years that we knew about it right away.
Yeah.
And there's 700 and almost 800 people in that group.
Well, I do remember that now. And we also had our neighborhood newsletter. I can't remember the frequency. We did it quarterly in the beginning.
Quarterly in the beginning. Then we went to monthly. And then we dropped it all together eventually. But
well, that was also pushing the Facebook page. I remember on the front cover, we'd always have join hvotp.com or whatever the URL was. And it would say, 500 members and growing. So every month we'd publish that and update the number.
And I think that it was a brilliant idea, and kudos to you because you were the one that put it together. But we branded it. We called it the Wilmot Ruler, and that's the sub-district. It's called Wilmot. It's the neighborhood Wilmot, also known as Hawthorne Village on the Park. And we tied it in the Facebook page and then this publication. And it was a 4-page publication that initially, because of cost, we couldn't afford to do it any more than quarterly. Even that we couldn't afford because
it was expensive. We were paying like $1,000 a month.
More.
1,400. It was like $700 to print, $700 to deliver, something like that.
Yeah. And what we did right is we didn't do any chest pounding. There wasn't any selling. We had like a third of the back of the page where we put our newest listings in the neighborhood. Because by that point already we'd started establishing ourselves as realtors in the neighborhood, and a few people trusted us to sell their places. And that grew over time, of course, but that was the start of it. We created a farm area. They call it a farm, right? Because you're farming that specific neighborhood. And when you farm something, you have to plant the seeds and nurture it.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't grow overnight. It takes time for it to grow. And that's exactly what happened. And, I remember we did a street party not long after we created the Facebook page and then the newsletter. We decided, you know what? Now we're making some money. Let's do something to give back to the community, right? And realtors are known for that. A lot of realtors, especially ones that are higher income earners, giving back in some capacity. Like for the month of September, we donated a portion of each of our sales back to the Halton Food for Thought, which is a great organization that provides wholesome meals to children in Halton schools that don't otherwise have those foods available to them in their home and sometimes go hungry. So we donated a portion of all of our sales in September to that cause. And a lot of realtors like to give back to the community because that's how they earn their income as well. But we decided to have what did we call it? A charity street party, I think.
Yeah, we went through the process of getting permits and getting the town to give us permission to block off a part of the street. So we chose a street that wouldn't be overly interrupted by the event. And it was a good spot because it had great exposure on a major street in our neighborhood. So between all of the activity that was going on, we got a lot of exposure. And we did well. We raised some money for the hospital. We had tons of stuff there. Like we had a big barbecue. We went and picked up this commercial propane barbecue from M&M Meats and got some burgers and hot dogs. And we had a big tent and we had a big bouncy castle and we were doing a 50-50 raffle. And it was a really, really good turnout. I enjoyed the day. It was...
we had face painting.
Local baker came and was selling cupcakes and donating a portion of that.
Yeah,
we had a lot of support from the neighborhood too. We had some people volunteer to help us out.
Yeah, and I think that was also a good way for us to get to meet and mingle, right? It was, and we got volunteers. Like we went knocking on doors and said, we're going to have a street party to raise some money for the hospital, and it's going to be fun. Kids are going to have a great time. The weather's going to be awesome. Are you able to help? We need some help. Can you volunteer? Can you paint some faces? Can you blow up some balloons? Can you make hot dogs? Like, what can you do to help us raise some money? And if you think back to all of those volunteers, Adrian,
yep,
they've all become clients, each and every one of them. And in fact, I can't remember if Heather was there, and
Heather was there. She became not only a client, she became a friend and a part of the team.
Yeah. Sounds like one of those Hair for Men commercials. I think that was a big, I don't know if you can call it a catalyst, but that really catapulted our career.
Did we put signs up? We had, I can't remember what they were, but yeah, we had signs we put up somewhere.
And I'll never forget. And you know where I'm going to go with this story. I'll never forget.
I know. I was waiting for one of us to bring it up.
So you went door knocking on the street. I'll say the street is Higginbotham Crescent, which abuts Bronte Street South in Milton. You went knocking on the street to all of the homes because you needed 80% of the homes that were affected to sign off on this document that we provide to the town
to close the street.
And you had knocked on one door and he basically told you to fuck off and slam the door and slam the door in your face.
Yeah.
And the next day I got text messages out of the blue from this person that said, and I think I still have them saved. At
this point, we didn't know definitively
we didn't know who it was. We didn't know who it was.
We didn't know the phone number.
Correct.
And we still don't really, but we assume with a high, you do know?
No. I confirmed it.
Okay. I wasn't aware of that.
I 100% confirmed it. Yeah. So slammed the door in your face, told you to fuck off, and we didn't think of it again. Can you hear that? Yeah, I think she chose the wrong Sonos speaker. For those of you that like Blippy, Blippy is my life now. And yeah, she grouped the living room speaker with my office speaker. So let me just take care of that. I apologize. There you go. So anyways, he slammed the door in your face, told you to fuck off. The next day or the next 2 days later, I get a text message. And again, we didn't know this is the same person, but it says, it said a lot of nasty things and basically said that it's a cover up and you're doing it just for business and it's not for charity. You can't call it a charitable event.
Well, because the premise of this was to raise money for the Milton Hospital. So it was in fact a charitable event. And this person was not happy with it.
Correct. Not happy. Says that none of his neighbors signed off on this. You can't close down my street. Blah, 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 blah. Anyway, the long story short here is 4 or 5 years goes by. Guess who hires us to sell their house?
So that's just, goes to show that you got to be persistent, people, because you're going to get doors slammed in your face. You're going to get a lot of no's. But if you are persistent and you push through it, it'll always work out in the end.
So what happened was this individual and his partner came to several of our open houses. When they were thinking about selling, they made a conscious effort of that's how they were going to search for their next realtor, and went out and visited a few of our open houses. And they were so impressed with the way that we marketed the property, not only online, but inside the home, and impressed with the way we presented the home and ourselves in person, that it led them to interview us. And they interviewed us and the 2 other big teams in the neighborhood, or in the town, I would say. Really one other big team and then one that's just there. And we impressed them so much that they hired us. So after they literally, and I confirmed that was him, they slammed the door in our face, told us to fuck off.
This was multiple times because
said a bunch of things to us that were nasty, and ends up hiring us.
And he didn't slam the door in our face that one time, because one of the things we would do in the past was when a house would sell, we would knock on the doors of the, 5 to 10 most immediate neighbors, or 20. So like on either side. And there was probably 2 times that I knocked on his, and one time I remember I spoke with his wife, who was very pleasant. He was there, but he could tell he was giving me the cold shoulder, and he went inside. Another time I knocked, and I caught them in the driveway that time, just coming home from somewhere. The next time I did it, knocked on the door, he answered again, slammed the door in my face. He did not like us. So, and it wasn't once, it wasn't twice. It was like 3 times we met with this person, and none of the at none of those times was it a very pleasant experience. But if you prove yourself, people can't question it. They may not like you, fun. But if you're the best, you're the best.
Yep. Well, that's it, right? You might not like the owner of your favorite food, takeout food, but you love the food so much.
Pizza.
Yeah, or damn, you are a nasty person to me when I come in to pick that shawarma up. But man, that is the best shawarma I ever had, right? Anyways, one part
for the record, we were never mean. He just didn't like us. I think some people just don't like real estate agents.
Yeah, no, he definitely did not like agents. What's funny, I never told you, is when they did go to our open houses, because we have our iPads set up in the front foyer, and we ask all attendees to register. And of course, we have no, like, we're not going to ask people to bust out their passports so we can verify, but we ask people to politely register, and we keep them informed on what's happening with the property and all that. But he said every time he visited, he gave us the wrong name and wrong phone number, like just made shit up, right?
Yeah.
So we purposely wouldn't be contacting him.
Yeah. It's expected. I mean, we never force people to sign in, because if they don't want to, they're not going to give you legit information anyways.
Right. So that's really where it started to snowball is, we harnessed, first of all, we knew everything about the neighborhood inside and out, right? We knew all the streets, we knew all the models, the floor plans, the square footage of each of them.
All the local developments. That's a big thing.
Everything that was happening in the area. That was huge for us. We were the go-to. We were the knowledge people. And still to this day, if somebody has a question about what's being built or going on in the area, we get asked because people know we've got the answers. And back then, when this Facebook page started up, it was really easy for somebody to say, hey, Ariel, hey, Adrian, do you know what's being built at the corner of X and X Street? Or do you know when the school is going to be started? Or what's opening up in the plaza? Or is there anything available for lease in the plaza? Those things happened all the time. So that's where it snowballed. That's where it started.
It did. And up until that point, we were, and probably a while after that still, we were literally doing absolutely everything for the business. We didn't source anything out, which was
a blessing and a curse.
Yeah, a curse more than anything. I would say that that's one of the biggest changes in our business, when we realized the importance of delegating and not being perfectionists and just implementing processes and new things, throwing shit at the wall, waiting to see what sticks and running with it, and hiring people to take on the responsibility of things that our time and our skill level was not best suited. So, if we trace it back to when we hired stagers to do things instead of us staging it, and when we hired photographers and stuff like that, instead of us investing our time to do that, I could say we could pinpoint to the moment that our business took a substantial jump in productivity and profitability. So don't be afraid of hiring people.
Well, that was a big, that was a control issue. That was a control issue that we had. And a lot of people have that. A lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of small business owners have that issue of not only being able to delegate their baby, but then taking on the expense of also delegating that job or those tasks. So I think that plays a big component in understanding yourself and understanding that you have to let go, right? It's like, it is your kid, and you're sending your kid off to school, but your kid's in good hands, and it's kind of the same thing.
Well, and if you coddle the kid, they're going to be a needy, dependent adult.
They'll become like me.
Right. Versus, letting them go, trusting them, letting them figure shit out, make some mistakes on the way, but they end up being a far superior human being because of that. Not easy decisions, but worthwhile. Like for one of the big things I would say is, if you're concerned about delegating, just make sure that, make specific note that when that delegated job is taking place, which you would have otherwise been doing at that time, ensure you've got something booked in your calendar during that time. Like, book a client coffee, whatever, do something more productive.
Well, I think there's two parts to that equation. If you are going to delegate it, you have to make sure that the person it's being delegated to is trained properly and is executing the job the way you want it executed from top to bottom. So show somebody and tell somebody how you want it done, and make sure that is consistent.
Yeah.
Because I think that's very, very important. And that's part of why our business is so successful, is because we have a product and processes in place that delivers consistency and accuracy, attention to details. It's so important. The average price of a home now is creeping in the $800,000 range in the Halton region. And it's actually a little bit higher now. And it's a huge transaction. It's the most financially, it's your biggest financial decision. And we all face it, whether you're a realtor or somebody that's hiring a realtor. Selling a piece of real estate is your biggest decision oftentimes. So, if you are a business owner and not just a realtor, you're faced with delegating things on a regular basis, or you should be. And, to our fault, I think what fault we had in the early going is we were so good at being different and doing things differently and being tech savvy people and hard workers. We were working 80 hours a week in the beginning, each of us, no days off, no evenings off, nothing. And we had no kids at that point either, but no life for the first several years. And because we were tech savvy, we learned how to take good photos. We bought the equipment. We spent thousands of dollars back then on getting good equipment and having the right lens and having the right programs. And we learned how to take good real estate photos and create good real estate videos. And we went out and we got why are you smirking?
Nothing.
Alicia, put some clothes on.
He said, put some clothes on.
And we went out, we got a storage locker, we filled it with a bunch of staging items, and we would do the staging ourselves. I remember the days where, and I remember
when you were going to people's houses, picking up dirty underwear.
Oh man, we did it all. But I remember the days where we would meet outside at 8:30 in the morning, load up our car, whichever vehicle we were taking, load it all up.
It was usually your little 3 Series BMW that was jam packed because for some reason your little car had a bigger trunk than my big car.
Yeah, and it fit a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
And we would load it with artwork, plants, accessories, mirrors, the whole bit, but also all of our video gear, all of our cleaning gear. And 8:30 in the morning, stop being distracted by your wife. 8:30 in the morning, we hop in the car, we would get there and declutter, right? Declutter.
It was a whole day's process.
We would stage.
That goes back to the importance of delegating. If we had have done that earlier, that's an extra 8 hours, 16 hours, probably between the two of us, that we could be focused on more business producing, productive time. We could have been doing tasks that would have been building more revenue, more leads.
Yeah, coulda, shoulda, woulda. But when you're new in an industry, sometimes you don't know it until you know it, right?
Well, and you're pinching your pennies because you've got nothing coming in.
Right. You gotta get your hands dirty. You gotta and let me just tell you, even if we could have afforded it and had the foresight of saying, okay, let's create processes and just delegate this all out, we would not have known it all as well as we know it all today, because we did do the staging, we did do the photos, we did do the video, we did do the cleaning, the decluttering, we installed fucking light fixtures, we did all the video editing, we did all the social media ads, we did all of the uploads to the MLS systems, all the descriptions of the properties. We even did our own floor plans.
Everything.
Literally had an
brochures, floor plans, everything, measurements, everything.
literally every single component was done by the two of us. And we didn't have an assistant. We didn't have any other realtors. And we were, well, Steve Brewman was the first to join our team in 2017. And it was forced. It was a decision that was forced upon us because you had your second child. I had twins on the way. We were having our biggest year ever, and we just had so much business that we had no choice but to hire somebody. We had liked Steve. He had helped us with some open houses in the past. He'd been a registered realtor with the brokerage already for almost a couple of years, and a very ethical guy, funny guy, very honorable and very loyal person. And we saw that in him right away and knew he would be a good fit. So we just brought him on and we didn't think twice about it. What's that? Better a KT logo than a road logo?
Yeah, like that was a smart decision. Like these people are getting free advertising.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe they'll give us a shout out, tag them in something.
Maybe. Steve was a welcome addition, a necessary addition. And that was our first addition to the team.
Yeah, we went 5 years just doing everything, the two of us.
Yeah.
And just the two of us made it to the highest level award that Century 21 awards.
Well, not only we were the 17th highest producing team in the country, and that was compared to like 200 or 250 teams. And when I say teams, we're being compared against teams with dozens of team members. And it was just you and I. Just the two of us.
Just the two of us. And we came in number 17 in the country.
And we were not only the salespeople, we were the salespeople, the stager, the photographer, the floor plan technician, everything.
The accountant. The admin person, the controller.
We were busy as fuck.
Yeah. So for those of you that say, oh, I'm not happy in my job and I'm going to start a business, or I'm going to do this on the side, or I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. You can do it. You can do whatever you want to do, but you got to fucking work. You got to work your ass off, and nothing comes easy, especially in today's day and age. And, you know, more so the message has to be, you have to evolve. You have to evolve as an individual. You have to evolve your business. Like I think of all of the features and services that we offer now, and the way everything looks in terms of our marketing, it's all changed, right? You have to evolve. You have to.
Well, you need to decide what you want. If, you know, to what level do you want to grow your business? If you just want to do a deal a month, that's fine. But if you want to excel and grow a team or be the top producing, you know, you have to decide, first of all, to what level do you want to get and how do you get there?
That's all about, you know, you got to have goals and targets and a plan. With anything, I believe you have to do that with anything in life. I'm a big, you know, write down what you want to accomplish kind of person. And actually, I just finally got my Think board.
I've never seen one. Where is it?
Yeah, it's still wrapped up. We've
been talking about that forever.
I know. Now we got one for the boys' playroom as well. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna redesign my room a little bit, my office, and I'm gonna get it up on the wall. But you have to know what you want to accomplish, what you want to achieve. You want to make $100,000 this year? That's got to be in front of you, and you got to work that backwards. So what do I got to do to earn that $100,000? And that's very much so in the career of a realtor, is that you have to have that vision. And there are a lot of realtors that are perfectly okay making $100,000 and working full time, but at a much less capacity, right? Like they'll work, 30, 40 hours a week at their own schedule, at their own pace. You know, they sell 10 homes a year or a deal a month kind of thing, and they're happy. That's fine. That's fine. If you can service your client and you do a good job and you do it professionally, go for it. But, our goal was always to aspire to eventually become our own brokerage and open multiple locations. Well, whereas now I don't know, that conversation might be a little different for physical locations, but having a team that grows, but also having a team that follows, our pretty strict guidelines, and well, they're not even guidelines, they're rules of engagement and processes. And
well, that's been a big part of us, is always having consistent service. So whether you're working with regardless of which team member you're working with, you're getting the exact same level of service, the exact same marketing materials, same results, very consistent. We've got a very consistent process.
Point. Like for anybody that's listening that is part of a team or starting to think about building a team, because I'm sure realtors and just general public are going to be listening to this, and that's okay. I think the biggest question mark in the real estate industry pertaining to teams, because teams are the future of real estate. If you are an individual agent, you will be phased out, and it's happening. You're going to be phased out. You won't be able to compete because you don't have the budget to, you don't have the database to. I'm not saying that there isn't a role for that individual agent. Somebody might like just dealing with one person and the whole thing. But the way the transaction is handled, the way the attention to details is brought to your property or even to your purchase, the amount of attention and care you get from our team, you as an individual agent will never be able to compete. You won't. If I'm meeting with a potential client and you as an individual agent are meeting with that same client, I guarantee you, I will make you look like an amateur. So I'm being honest. And that's a little chest pounding, but that's how we've gotten to become good at what we do. Well, and we're good at what we do.
The team environment is, like, for us anyways, it's been a huge component to our business because it's a busy industry. Things move quickly. If you need assistance, you need someone there to help you. Between our administrative team, our client care manager, and all of our salespeople that all have a genuine interest in making sure that every person's client is successful, there's always someone to talk to. If you have a problem, there's always someone there to take care of you.
Well, there's always, like, if you're listing a home with us, now, let's talk about that part of the process a little bit. There's always somebody talking about your property on social media. Always. Right?
Yeah.
And that's something that growing a team and building this team has excited me so much, because if you put the right people in place, you are now entitling your team to take ownership of the business in a sense. And that's the benefit that the client gets, right? Like the client is the winner here because they're getting more exposure. And it's good exposure. Like, we train our people on how we want it done, and they execute it, and they're doing a great job. But the general public, going back to where I wanted to take this, is the general public doesn't necessarily yet know, and we don't do a good job of it.
Are you playing with that thing too?
I am. Yeah. Yeah. More advertising for road. Right? The general public doesn't understand that if they hire a team, they think that they don't have just one person that they're dealing with, right? Like, they think, oh, I'm going to be just a number, and I'm going to be, there's going to be like so many hands in this pot that I just want to deal with this one person. And what a lot of people don't know is that, okay, every team structure is different, so I can only speak to ours, but a lot of teams are structured similarly to us, maybe don't execute it as well, but have the same premise that you still deal with that one realtor, but there might be additional assistance that happens behind the scenes or even throughout the course of the sale, right? So you still get that kind of one-on-one attention to care, but you do have more people that are motivated to help you. So I think the real estate industry and us as a team probably has to do a better job of educating the public on that.
Well, I would say one of the biggest mistakes that real estate agents make, and I mean, this applies to all industries and salespeople and whatever, is ensuring you have open communication and you set the right expectations. Because some of the complaints I've heard in the past about from other people were that, you know, they hired a real estate agent to sell their home, and that salesperson never met with them again. Basically, they weren't even there when it came time to negotiate offers. So offers were coming in. They had a new face, enter the equation at that point to negotiate offers. Had that real estate agent set the proper expectations and explain why they had opted to do it that way from the beginning, it wouldn't have been a problem, and they wouldn't be chatting to us at that point to hire us. So you have to set the right expectations.
And that's with anything in life, really, but certainly if you're in business as an entrepreneur, that's super important. And for your staff too, right? Like setting proper expectations of what you expect somebody to do in their job is a huge fail for a lot of businesses. A lot of businesses don't properly they don't train properly, and then they don't set the proper expectations and don't follow through with it. Like how many places I've worked where I didn't get proper training. So you're learning on the fly, and then you don't know what's expected of you, and nobody's ever monitoring that to know if you're doing a good job or you're not. And if you are doing a good job, there's nobody ever there to pat you on the back. Right. I've had so many of those jobs in my life, and that's part of what made me want to be an entrepreneur.
Yep.
Anyway.
So that brings us to today. Now we are a team of 6 licensed agents, client care manager. We have our own media department, full-time videographer, photographer, and we are expanding. So one person, they have many responsibilities. I still consider it a department.
Yes.
And we continue to grow. So if you are a real estate agent watching this, you've made it this far, not only do we want you to comment, drop a question, let us know what you want us to talk about on the next podcast, like and follow the podcast. But if you're looking to join a team, give us a shout. We're looking for new team members. We want to grow the team. The Halton, Peel, Wellington, Hamilton area.
And I'll be honest, not all of you will qualify.
No, well, that's the big thing. We're not a recruiting company.
Sorry if you're a follower and you're listening. I appreciate the love, but you got to be damn good if we're going to give you a seat at the KT studio.
And it's not just about being qualified; it's about being a good fit.
Yeah, and hey,
a lot of people
on our team
won't be able to put up with our bullshit.
100%. In fact, while we're chatting here, we just got a message on Instagram that says you guys bicker like a married couple.
I saw that. That's what happens when you work together for 20 years and live next door to each other.
On our team, we have and we know everything about each other probably too, from any aspect of our lives.
Maybe not everything.
Tell me one thing I don't know about you.
I can think of a few.
Can you?
Continue on.
Are they not suitable for this audience?
Not this podcast.
On our team, we have a full gambit of people that came from all kinds of different places. We've got Steve Bruman, who was already in the industry. Heather sort of was in the industry. She was kind of new when we brought her on. neither of them with sales backgrounds or real estate backgrounds. Both moved from other areas into Halton region. Chris Behe, we had an experience with because we worked together. He was a salesperson at Milton Toyota, and ultimately, he reported to both of us, and we had a good experience in training him, and he became a senior manager in the organization. I was actually the one that promoted him to be a manager in the dealership. And then he went on, after I left, he went on to be a sales manager at Ancaster Toyota and did very well, but also realized that he couldn't grow. So, and always had a passion for real estate. And at that point, him and his wife had done 3 or 4 transactions with our team at that point. And then we have Steve Cicchetto, he was a high income earner in the pharmaceutical field, brand new into real estate. We helped him, help guide him as he got his license, and then went through some training before he got his feet wet. And he's doing very well. He's going to hit his target this year. Jen, who I worked with 25 years ago or 20 years ago, and became friends. She left a higher paying job to come and work with us because she wanted to be a part of it.
Yep.
She does a great job. And Ian is kind of an interesting story because we've had to go through 2 other videographers before we found Ian. So the other 2 individuals, one lasted maybe a couple of months. The other one lasted about a year. And the consistent, I guess, it's an interesting position because you're hiring for somebody in a creative position, and a lot of people that have knowledge for that position are younger.
Yes.
Right now, right? And what we found with the first 2 videographers was it was abundantly clear that they were not mature at all, and really just need to be doing their own thing, be an entrepreneur themselves or just a solo person going out and shooting some, I don't know, wedding videos or I don't know. But they weren't a fit. And Ian, who we interviewed, we had hundreds of applicants for this position. Hundreds.
I remember those interview nights. That was fun.
And we interviewed, Ian doesn't even know this story, and he has to watch this now, an hour and 20-minute recording. But he doesn't even know the story. We interviewed, I think, 12 people before hiring Ian this time around. And we did it back-to-back days, I think, or it was in the same week. But the one day, Jen, who booked our interviews, had, I think, 7 or 8 interviews lined up for that day. And we started at like 8:30 in the morning, and the last one was like at 8 o'clock at night. So we're interviewing for 12 hours straight at the KT studio. And at around 4 or 5, maybe even 6 o'clock, but late afternoon, I busted out the booze.
Coach
I brought the bottle.
Wasn't Coach Lager?
Fireball.
Fireball, yeah.
I busted out the Fireball, and we had a couple of shots. And so by the time we got to interviewing Ian, because he was one of the last, I think he was the second last interview for that day. We were already a bit tipsy.
I tell you, some of the best decisions we've made are under the influence.
And he is a brilliant mind. And I've said this to him, he doesn't even know how good he really is. And we are lucky to have him.
Let's not tell him.
And I really think that if he it's hard working for us and with us. And, there's a lot in that position. There's a lot to do. There's never a dull moment because you're always doing something. There's not enough hours in the day. It can be monotonous, especially now, right? Being hunkered down for COVID and not getting out and about. But if he sticks with it and sticks with us, and it looks like we will stick with him, in the next few years, he will be the one building out this media department. And we're already setting the framework for it. And he's a brilliant mind. So I'm really excited to see what he's going to be able to produce with people under his team within our team. And that's where I think, once we start getting Jan and Ian an assistant and getting some more help and some more salespeople and things like that, that's where we're going to become number one in the country, not number 14 where we currently sit. So I'm excited for that. But it's funny because after we interviewed Ian, when he walked out, and it's funny when you and I interview people because they walk out and instantly we're always on the same page. It's very unlike us that somebody will walk out of an interview with us and we have differing opinions. It happens on occasion, but usually we're pretty much on the same page. And when Ian left, I think we both looked at each other and said, I like him.
Yeah, it was unanimous.
And he did a video for his uncle who is a knife maker. And when I watched that video and I spoke to him and we told him what our expectations were and what the salary is and this and that, and everything was aligning, well, the rest is history. He's been with us for all of 2012 now, pretty much, and 2020, pretty much, 2012. And that he was the last hire of the team right now. And I'm really excited about, where we're at. And to be able, we're in 2020 where we experienced nothing like what we would have anticipated, nothing that we would have planned for. And this will be our best year ever.
Yep.
In a year where for 3 months, we basically weren't working.
Yeah.
March, April, and May. I don't want to say we weren't working because we were working every day.
It was actually a great time because we were able to focus on a lot of the things we were never able to get around to, which are some of the most important things.
Yep.
To take us to the next level.
Yep. Go ahead.
I was just going to sum it up and just say, so that is our story, more or less, from taking two guys that lived next door to each other, starting a real estate company from scratch, leaving jobs that were high paying with lots of benefits, to now a top producing team. So my personal advice for people just getting into, different people watching this right now, but if you're watching this as a real estate agent or someone that's just getting into the industry or contemplating getting into the industry, my best advice from our successes would be persistent, choose something and focus on it. So if you decide that focus is going to be farming in a neighborhood like we did, and you're going to send out a newsletter every month, don't do it for 2 months and then give up. Do it for 2 years and then give up if that's what you're going to do. But you need to do it longer, persistent, do it persistently, because you won't get results quickly. It takes time.
And at the end of the day, you have to make sure your client is happy, because happy clients will do business with you again, and they will tell their family, their friends, their colleagues about you and your service or your product.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what you're selling. Doesn't matter if it's food, if it's socks, if it's dog food, I don't care. You have to have a completely satisfied client. And, we've got 5-star Google review, 130 or 140 reviews right now. Yeah. All of them are 5-star. And that's not because we're paying people to leave them. They're going on there naturally and saying, hey, these guys kick ass, and hire them. And that's what you want to build your business to be. And, I think kids now growing up will hopefully benefit from understanding and being able to learn everything. You can learn anything now at home, right? You're stuck at home anyway. You might as well learn something. If you're mowing lawns as a 13-year-old, you can still have a website and Google reviews and a Facebook page, and you could be the busiest lawn mowing person in your neighborhood, and that could be your income. Doesn't matter what you're doing or what you want to become or what you have the talent or the ability to do.
A couple easy things to elevate yourself above the competition, no matter what industry you're in. Answer your phone. If you don't answer your phone, call people back. And when you do answer your phone, say, hey, this is John from John's Lawn Care. How can I help you today? Don't answer the phone like many of our competitors do in real estate and say, hello. And that's it. Like, who the hell am I talking to?
It's my biggest pet peeve.
Be professional, and you will do well.
Be professional.
Be persistent. Be professional.
There you go.
Lots of peas.
You just came up maybe with some of our new branding. Get rid of the real estate done right and insert some of those into it, because it's exactly what we do, all of us. So anyways, that's episode 100. And we rambled on for almost an hour and a half here, just talking about what we've done and what we've accomplished and who we are and what we believe in business and entrepreneurship. If you've got anything to add, if you know us and know our business and you want to tell us a little bit about what interests you in our business or what we've done that you were impressed with, or if you're an entrepreneur or budding entrepreneur and you have something to add, what is that? You really sticking that on there?
If you can see your text message, Ian just sent us a message saying you should put a KT logo over the road logo.
Right.
So he's watching.
Anyways, hey Ian, give a shout out to Road and this wherever it's going to be posted, because maybe they should send us some free swag for upcoming episodes or for new employees. Anyways, episode 100. If you've got to this spot on the podcast, thank you for listening for so long. Make sure you subscribe, like, and this is an important one to comment on. So please comment. We'd love to hear your feedback, your thoughts, or what you thought about our story.